Hey everybody, just checking in. Got some projects that I'm working on today out at the rental house here. And the first one is going to be putting the control arms onto my Sequoia. So there's my Sequoia, and it's got 200,000 miles on it. So I just got done putting the blistering shocks on it that you can kind of see. Right there they are. All right. So just got done putting those on all four corners, and now this mess is what I am working on next. What a disaster. So I'll see you guys when I get all done. All right, I'm back, everybody. I got it kind of cleaned up. As you can see, it's a little bit better. I just came back from a mission with the military, so that's why my military gear stood on. So, all right. So I am an AC certified mechanic, so I won't take responsibility if you decide to work on your own car. But the advice that I give is generally decent advice. So the reason why we're changing the upper control arms is, as you can see, when you lift a vehicle, it drastically changes the angle of the upper control arm here, and that causes a lot of stress on the ball joint here, and if you don't do it properly, then you end up with problems. So how you combat that is you purchase something like this. So these are upper control arms. These happen to be Cambergs. I'm not sponsored by Camberg. I purchased these at full purchase price, but they are basically one of the best units you can get. So these are 1.5 inch uniball joints instead of the usual 1 inch or 1.25 inch uniballs that come on some of the other less expensive upper control arms. Sometimes even the same price upper control arms are only have the 1.25 or 1 inch. So these are pretty beefy, as you can see. There's, my hand next to it. They're quite large. So what happens when you lift a vehicle and you don't properly, put the upper control arms, or you lift it way too high without doing a diff drop or something like that, is it puts a lot of undue stress on that upper control arm, that upper ball joint, like I was saying. So a friend of mine a couple years ago came to me and said, "Hey, I got a Sequoia and I want to lift it." And I said, "Cool, let's do it." And he brought me eBay parts. And I was like, "I don't want to install these, man, because I don't know what it's going to do." So I went ahead and installed them anyway, against my better judgment. And it's been nothing but a headache for him the whole last couple of years. He's been through, I think, 3 more sets of ball joints since we lifted it. And I told him that would happen. So now he actually called me the other day and he's like, "Hey, could you help me, come take these off?" And I was like, "Well, not now. I'm working on my own projects." So that's one of the issues with lifting your truck and not doing it properly. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Stand by 1 second. Invader Coffee. I put a link to Invader Coffee down in the description. Very good stuff. Again, I'm not paid by them. I purchase it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to take the wheels off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get ball joints off the easy way. All right, so obviously the best way to break the ball joint is to use a pickle fork or a tool that, looks like a fork, and you drive it underneath the ball joint, and you use an air hammer, or you just use leverage and you can pop the ball joint that way. That's obviously the correct way to do it. Not everybody has one of those though. So I'm going to show you one of the ways that you can do this without the special tool here. All you need is a pry bar and a hammer. All right, so what you're going to do, and I can't do this with one hand obviously, so I'm going to just show you. So you're going to put the ball or your pry bar here, okay, and just put a little pressure on it. As you put pressure on it, you are going to tap the bottom of the ball joint. Now, what I did here, as you can see, is I loosened this castle nut up. And you want it to be flush with the threads on the ball joint, because if you take this all the way off and then you whack that with your hammer, you absolutely will screw the threads up, and then you will never get this nut back on. If you have the nut sticking past the, come on, focus you. If you have the nut sticking past the end of the ball joint, what you'll do is you'll break one of these little ears off. Now, I've got all new upper control arms and hardware, so I'm not super worried about it, but I get that question a lot. A lot of my buddies call me and they're like, hey, how do I get this ball joint off? And so that's basically one of the easiest ways to do it if you don't have the pickle fork. Now, the pickle fork will usually go up under here, and it's kind of got a stepped profile to it, so it'll just slowly push that off, and that's basically the easiest way to do it. But like I said, this will work if you don't have the tool. Okay, so I got that off, as you can see. Something that you want to watch out for, you see how much tension is being put on this rubber line? You definitely don't want that to happen. So we're going to bungee this up out of the way. All right, so you can see that I got my bungee here, and this line now doesn't have any tension on it. I'm trying to rip it out of its socket. All right, guys, quick thing I want to show you here. So I couldn't get the bolt to break loose, not even my air rat or my gun would break it loose. So what I have is 2 wrenches. So obviously I have the box end on the bolt there, and then you take the box end of this one and you put it like that, and you basically extend the lever of your you get some more torque out of it. So again, not an approved method, but it works in a pinch. All right, guys, I got the old upper control arm off, as you can see to the left here. As you can see, this new one is quite a bit beefier. Camberg really takes pride in their stuff, and really good craftsmanship here. So you can see that it looks a bit different than the old one, and that is to change the camber curve. So as the suspension moves through its motion, the tire is actually going to change camber at the extremes. So this new upper control arm kind of accounts for that and corrects it. Now, why I'm changing these upper control arms mainly is, as you can see, that bushing and that bushing has pretty much completely separated from the mounting point. So the problem here is, let's see if I can get this on video with one hand. All right, so what's going to happen here is, as the suspension goes through its motions, this mount, as you can see, is going to move quite a lot. And that's actually going to change the alignment of the vehicle as it's driving down the road. So obviously the problem with the alignment changing as you're driving down the road is you're going to have, you're going to feel that in the steering wheel. Like if you hit a bump, it's going to try and veer off to the left or to the right. And obviously that's a problem. Your braking performance is going to be affected, because when you hit the brakes, the front end of the vehicle is going to dip, and those control arms are going to shift forward, and that is going to affect the contact patch of your tire, which is going to affect your braking performance. So if you're doing this on your own vehicle, that's something to, or if you're working on your own vehicle, that's something to keep an eye on. And if you are a technician at a shop and you're not looking for those things, you're doing your customers a disservice. So you need to get in there, you need to check ball joints, you need to check bushings. It's really, really quick. Just stick your pry bar in there and move the control arm around, and you almost instantly tell if the bushing is bad or not. So get in there and do that for your customers. All right, guys, so it's all installed now. Couple things to note. This ABS speed sensor wire here, they include new hardware and clamps. I suggest using that stuff. I took it completely off of the factory mount and just put it on there. This is a 12-point socket, so if you don't have any 12 points, you're gonna need a 9/16 12 point for that. And then this is a 24 mil, so you're gonna need a 24 mil for that. Torque wrench needs to be able to go up to like 150 because this is torqued to, they said, between 105 and 120, I think, or 110 and 120, something like that. So I put it at 110, and then this bolt is 120 up here. You're going to need to get this thing realigned. Although there isn't any adjustments on this upper control arm like there is on some cars, you're still going to need to get it aligned. Camberg asks that you put a little bit more caster in it, which is the angle of this. This is your spindle. The angle of this in relation to vertical, so either this way or that way. So they ask that you put a little bit more caster in it for this purpose. But there's it all installed. Looking pretty good so far. I can't wait to get it out on the road. All right, YouTube, there they are, all installed, ready to go. I just went out for my first test drive. Ride's super sweet. Real smooth action, no squeaking out of the uniball. So if you've never had anything with a uniball before, because it's a pretty precision joint, then sometimes they will squeak. So these are polyurethane bushings, and also remember that sometimes those will make a little bit of noise if you don't get them greased up. But I mean, Camberg gave you the ability to grease them right there. Just make sure that you use something that's made for polyurethane, some sort of synthetic compound with a PTFE additive in it. So that's going to be your best way to go. But there they are. All right. Morning, everybody. Wanted to give you a little update on the Sequoia yesterday. So got everything all done, but as you can see behind me, the mess has returned in full force. So I have lots of work to do this morning. We are going to do an update on the property today, so stay tuned for that. The pad was poured, concrete's there. The contractor missed a couple of floor outlets, so I don't know how we're going to fix that, or if we're going to fix that at all. I have a feeling that we're probably just going to leave it because at this point it's too big of a pain to try and fix. We're going to do sealed concrete floors as well. So if there's a patch in the middle of the sealed concrete, you're going to instantly notice it, and I don't like that look. So I don't think we're going to get floor outlets now, which is a bummer because I really wanted floor outlets. It's a big room and the great room there. So stay tuned for that update later today. But I'm going to sign off here and get this mess picked up. See you guys.